So, sir, you can start if you're ready.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. We will call the meeting together order at 9:30. First order of business is the adoption of the agenda. I have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Richard and Bonnie, any more discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Certainly reminder to disclose any pecuniary interest. Our first order of business this morning is a quarter revision under the Drainage Act. Recommendation that council proceed into the quarter revision for the Kraus drain at 9:31 pursuant to the Drainage Act ROS 1990. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Tellier and seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried. We are now into the court and Madam Clerk.
So we need to appoint a chair for the Court of Revision for the Kraus drain. So does anyone want to be the, I need someone to appoint someone for a chair.
Buddy, sure. Okay.
Okay, so that the Court of Revision for the Kraus drain hereby appoints Duncan McPhail as chair. Richard, are you moving that? Can I have seconder? Okay, so now, sir, you will move on to any written appeals. We've had no written appeals.
Okay.
We can make the call for late appeals. There is no public attending the meeting, so unless a counselor wants to file an appeal, we are.
Didn't mention pecuniary interest, Jenna,
Oh,
just
suppose it, yeah, if anyone has pecuniary interest.
somebody will point that out, I'm sure.
Okay, so we have one more call for late appeals. There is none. So now we can just move on to any comments from or questions from council.
Seeing none, I guess there was nothing relayed to you from the engineer or drainage superintendent?
No, they didn't expect anyone to attend because they are the two people who are on the drain are the two people who applied to have it moved.
Right.
And they are the sole bearers of the cost.
So it doesn't look like there's any further business on this court.
Nope, I just need a recommendation that the Court of Revision for the Kraus drain hereby approves the schedule of assessment for the Kraus drain as outlined in the report prepared by Spreet Associates.
Mover and seconder for that recommendation. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? That is carried.
And so a recommendation that the Court of Revision for the Kraus drain closes at 9:33 a.m.
Moved by Cameron and seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried.
Okay, back to the regular agenda, sir.
Okay, next item of business is the adoption of the minutes. So we have a recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on December 16th, 2021 be adopted as circulated and printed. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, so any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, you say Jackie is just coming online?
She is here, sir. If anybody has any questions.
Do we not see her on screen?
She's got her video off, but she's here.
Oh, okay. Good morning, Jackie.
Nope, there she is.
You're on
Good
mute.
morning.
There.
Good morning.
Hope you had a good holiday season and you're all rested up for another banner year of building permits in West Elgin.
Absolutely.
Have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from CBO building permit report for December 2021 for information purposes. Mover and seconder for that recommendation. Moved by Cameron, seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried. Jackie, you provided the report to us. First off, council has any questions for Jackie regarding the report? Seeing none, Jackie, is there anything that you need to add to this report?
Not at this time. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, that was short and sweet.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I guess no further business regarding our chief building official. Will let you loose to get on with your day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, next item up, our fire chief have a recommendation that West Island Council hereby receives the report from Jeff MacArthur, Fire Chief, December monthly fire report for information purposes. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tallier. All in favor? That is also carried. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Your Worship and Council.
Anything that anybody has on their mind to ask Jeff regarding his report, or any other issues that could be need to discuss with our fire chief? I don't see anything. Jeff, you've got anything that you want to?
The only thing I'll add is just training for January and likely February. With COVID, we've kind of done something similar to what we did last spring, I guess it was. So we've scaled things back. We've kept truck checks and equipment inspections on the schedule, but divided each station up into platoons. So they're meeting in small groups. Not everybody's meeting all together, and we've only kept, I think it's one training session per month. So still making sure we're kind of keeping active in a safe way, but we definitely did scale things back. So that's all to add.
We haven't had any COVID pressures at the department.
No, there's been staffing is one thing that we are closely monitoring, of course, across the county. We had a county chiefs meeting yesterday, and everybody is in a similar situation for Elgin County fire departments. I think most are kind of in a, at least I said 10 to 15% down in staffing right now for various reasons. Some of it's COVID and self-isolation, and so there is a bit of a mix there. Nothing too severe yet. That could change, but we're all on the same page. And there was a fire coordinators meeting earlier this week, I forget which day, talking about the mutual aid program, and the consensus was that the vast majority of municipalities have not, a few have pulled out of their or retracted their mutual aid program in the short term, but most are saying, you know what, we may have to rely on mutual aid due to staffing concerns over the next few weeks, but that's what the mutual aid program is designed for, basically, in the province. So we are monitoring it, but nothing out of the ordinary, I guess, at this point. So.
Okay. Still working towards recognition of our retiring firefighters. That will take place at some point in time when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And ideally, they've been, like everything, they've been ordered for a few months now. The 20-year pins or medals, along with the other recognition items. But yes, we have not forgotten about that. We're definitely planning on something, hopefully in the near future, if COVID cooperates with us. So.
And that has that been communicated to the firefighters that will be taking place, so when it can happen?
The retirees?
No, to all the firefighters.
Oh, probably some of the officers. To everybody in general, maybe not, because obviously we were hoping to kind of do something last fall, and that never came together. So yeah, I can definitely kind of communicate that out.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea just to let everybody know that these fellows have not been forgotten about. It's just a matter that that through the COVID, it's just not as easy maybe as it would be in normal times. But there, stay tuned, because there will be some type of recognition as soon as we possibly can.
Sounds good.
Anybody else got any questions again? Okay, well, thank you very much, Jeff, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
How do you want to handle Tom?
It's pretty straightforward. If you have questions, I can call him. Otherwise, I was involved in it. It's pretty basic. It's the tender for the Kraus drain. He went over it with Spreetz and himself. He is good with the cost. The people are good with the cost. It came in under what they originally thought, so.
All right, well, with that, we do have a recommendation that West Ogden Council hereby receives the report from Tom Mohan, Drainage Superintendent, the Kraus drain tender, and that West Ogden Council hereby awards the tender to the lowest bidder, McNally Excavating, in the amount of $140,900 plus applicable taxes. Do I have a mover and seconder? Yes, sure.
I just noticed the completion date. I just noticed the completion dates of the two contractors, and the one's the 1st of April and the other's the 30th of June. Well, 30th of June, you're going to be interfering with crops on fields, aren't you? So I'm hoping that's their last date, and hopefully they get it done before that.
They're actually hoping to start next week if they can. They
That's
just
good.
gave
It's just
themselves
that
time. Yeah.
it seemed like quite a a difference between the two, especially on fields that are crops,
Yeah.
So
Well, they actually hoping to
that's
start
all.
even
But yes,
earlier.
I'd certainly go. I'll certainly go for that.
Okay, do we have a
Um,
seconder? Second by Rowe. Any other questions or concerns regarding this tender award? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Okay, we're gonna move over to Brian. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and members of council. Just checking everybody can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
What have we got going on here? Well, we'll just set the stage here that a recommendation that West Ogden Council hereby receives the report from Brian Pierce regarding housekeeping amendments to the zoning bylaw, consideration to proceed request planning report 2022-01, and that West Ogden Council provides preliminary input on the proposed amendments and authorizes administration to proceed with a statutory public meeting for the housekeeping amendment in order to solicit public consultation and bring back further recommendations for council to make a decision. All right. Do I have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Leatham and Gammert, all in favor for the recommendation?
I'd like to have a discussion first, if possible.
Okay, all right, we'll have a discussion and then we'll vote on it. Go ahead, Bonnie, you have a question?
Well, my first question, of course, is given that we're presently revising our official plan, is this the right time to make changes to our zoning bylaw?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Rowe, great question. Continuous updates to the zoning bylaw always helps to make efficiencies to the process for people applying for building permits or what have you to support and facilitate development proposals. So the proposed modifications that I'm suggesting in the housekeeping amendment is capturing council's interest from 2021 there, as well as conversations that Jackie Morgan-Bunin and myself have had, and issues that we've seen working with the zoning bylaw. So we're trying to make it more user-friendly and easier to facilitate the development proposals against. So in fairness, the official plan review process will take still quite a bit of a time to go through with council adopting it, and then it needs to go to the county for approval. So there's quite a bit of time left. And then council actually has up to 3 years after the official plan's been approved to update the zoning bylaw, but council can move forward with that at a quicker manner. So I don't think a housekeeping amendment is interfering at all with the process.
Okay, thank you. And then through the chair, if I could continue with my questions.
Go ahead.
Starting with section 3. Just to clarify, the term that is included is club as an accessory use. What does that refer to?
Sure. Thank you for the question on that. I'll just pull it up real quick. Essentially, it's recognizing members of internal group where there's no private transactions occurring. I'll get the exact definition for you as well. I was trying to contemplate the trailer and campgrounds that have buildings on the property, community buildings, to capture that land use, so that it's added clarity. So for club, it's the definition means a building designed, used, or intended to be used as a meeting place for members of an organization, association, fraternal order, or similar group not operated for profit, wherein athletic facilities, dining rooms, and beverage rooms may be provided. So that's a community hall type thing that I was trying to capture on the properties. So.
Okay, and thank you. And the other, the section 4, my thoughts, let me just get that section up.
Me too.
Talking about a roadside stand, and I just had a bit of concern about the 60% of the goods to be grown or produced on sale. I expect that's a standard statement. I wonder how that might impact some of our current roadside stands.
That's the intent behind that is to get a majority, obviously, of the fruits and vegetables, flowers, or whatever, contained to the property in specific questions. And then it also allows for that collaboration from other farmers that might have something for sale, but it's not enough volume to do it, so it can be centralized to one site. So it's worth a conversation with council, obviously, if you're feeling something different. We can have a better discussion today. That's what I wanted to get into today with council, is have all these discussions on this and sort of hear your quick thoughts before we head towards a public meeting. So
well, the thoughts that I had were in terms of that point, and certainly this could come out in a public meeting and be edited at that point. But I wonder if places like the Marshline Food Market and the Blue Groves Blueberry Market, whether that would impede the business that they're currently running. I know both of them bring in quite a bit off-site as well. So whether we wait until the public meeting to see if it's an issue and then address it, or possibly look at other jurisdictions and how they respond to this.
Yeah, so good points. That's the whole purpose of the public consultation, is to hear more community input, obviously, on it. The main gist of it is trying to get some best practices from other Ontario municipalities. Roadside stands are obviously integral to the agricultural area with the fruits and vegetable crops that's offered. So this was trying to facilitate economic development lens for the agricultural area to sell their products at the road, essentially, small in scale, obviously.
Question, Angela.
So through the chair, Brian, when you took the roadside component in, did you consult all the current regulations under OMAFRA for roadside regulation, the percentages for selling that are currently listed under OMAFRA? Because they do specifically lay that out and how to sell. And I know there's specific components that are already outlaid under OMAFRA.
No, thank you, Councilor.
And it
Cameron.
does list a certain percentage, and the 60 and 40 and stuff are already outlined in there, into which those of us that are farmers are allowed to sell.
I'll take a reference to that document, or if you can send me a link on it, I'll take a look at that, double check to make sure it aligns. The thought process is we were trying to see if we could create an easy situation for people to facilitate these. That's why we're limiting it to 10 square meters in the proposed recommendations for roadside stands. What that does is that it alleviates the need for a building permit application because it's under the threshold for a designated structure.
And I had no problems with it when I read it. And if you look it up under OMAFRA, selling direct to consumer. So if you go to the OMAFRA site, if you look for the selling direct to consumers, it specifically lays out what those of us that are ag registered are allowed to sell and not allowed to sell. Having run a roadside stand in the past, I'm very familiar with what those regulations are. So, and anybody that currently has one, and the gentleman on Marshline, he is registered with the market in Toronto, and he, I does believe, follow all those regulations. So, you know, once it goes to the public thing, if people have concerns, they can voice it. So I see no problem with the way that you've written it.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for the comments. Appreciate it.
Bonnie?
And thanks, Councillor Cameron. That's a good clarification for me. Point 6 and 7, I guess I need some description as to what established building lines means.
Yep, no problem. It's the point of the discussion here at council. No problem. So essentially, what established building lines do is if you've got a block within a subdivision within the urban area, and 50% of the block on that street has homes on it, that creates a hard edge of building form along the street for your streetscaping, for establishing that setback off the street, right? So the intent behind that is if I'll give you an example. The zoning bylaw requires 7.5 meter front yard setback. Your neighbor on the one side of you has a setback of 4 meters when it was built and complied with the rules of the day, and the neighbor on the other side of you had a setback of 6 meters, both lower than the minimum 7.5 meters. You would be able to take the average of both sides of your neighbors, so 4 and 6, and the average setback would then become 5 meters to comply with the setback requirements off the street. So that would alleviate the need for going through a minor variance ask and a public process on that to help facilitate somebody that's wanting to build in between these two established homes on the other side. And truthfully, the thought process is that it's already an established hard building line with the houses there. So it sort of fits into the neighborhood very well by taking the average of it. And over time, that average works its way back anyways, if you follow me. If the home was built in 1950 on one side and 1970 on the other side, and you're just building in 2022 now, right? At some point through the process, that 1950s home will be rebuilt at some point, and it'll have to do the average situation as well, which will slowly increment it back to the minimum setback anyways. So
Yes.
that's sort of the intent behind it. We're trying to get clarification this way in the zoning bylaw to apply it to residential zones only, so not to the agricultural areas, for the fact that the established building line in an agricultural area really isn't there because of the spatial separations between lots anyways.
Yeah.
And we're adding clarification on how to establish that building line, taking the average on both sides of your lot, rather than the whole street that we currently would have to do to demonstrate what that average is. So if there's 20 homes there today, you'd have to pin all those homes on a map. And if it works out to be 5 meters as a result of all those pinning, the average, that's what the new setback was. So it's quite an onerous process to get that number. So we're trying to simplify things that still achieves, in the immediate area, the established building line.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you.
I was just wondering, Brian, as we go through this, is there any amendments that we could consider in our zoning bylaw to try to alleviate housing shortages that we have in our community? Some new and innovative ideas that allow for additional housing in existing residential homes, or I know that there's a number of ideas floating around out there. I don't know if you've looked into them at any detail to see if there's things that we possibly can do to make that more attractive or easier to accomplish than it has been in the past.
Great conversation piece. Yes, with increased demand for land and valuation going through the roof, if there is a roof, affordability of housing and flexibility for housing types is come to a real attention for all municipalities essentially throughout the province. West Elgin's not alone in that one for sure. Fortunately, West Elgin has had some great insight at the very beginning and establishing rules and regulations for secondary dwelling units on properties. So right now, within our zoning bylaw, there are rules and regulations that will allow for secondary units on a property on a single detached home. So if you got a property that's you got your single detached home on in town and you want to do a lock-off unit accessory to the home, you could do that. So a basement apartment unit, you could do that within that, subject to meeting Jackie's requirements when she's reviewing the Ontario Building Code, of course, and fire code requirements, etc. Right. So currently we allow for a secondary unit within a dwelling, and we also do allow for a secondary dwelling unit within an accessory building. So if you can imagine like the coach house type design, maybe a storage garage with a living unit in it, there's flexibilities that way. And that applies across the board for single detached dwellings. So whether in your agricultural area or within the urban area, that's a permissive use. So, and there's not too much regulations on it. If it becomes a problem, I guess West Elgin could establish a few more rules and regulations within the zoning bylaw to help regulate that. But principally for a secondary unit onto the dwelling, we look for an independent entrance for the secondary unit from the street. Has to meet the Ontario Building Code. Minimum height requirement is 2 meters for a basement or cellar. And you have to provide a minimum of 1 extra parking space dedicated to that unit. So essentially a dwelling unit has 2 parking spaces. Add this secondary dwelling unit, that'd be a 3rd space on the property. And then there's other rules and regulations for the dwelling unit in an accessory garage type thing, or accessory building. So again, building code has to be complied with. Servicing has to speak to that. It can be on partial services as well. You have to have a certain on-site water flow rate. It says 18.9 liters per minute is what they're looking for water service. And yeah, again, parking. So those are sort of the thresholds. Agricultural areas, I mean, best practices across the province. There could be rules and regulations established to help concentrate the secondary dwelling unit within the farmstead area. I've seen that before. So you don't have a prolific expansion across the farmlands and sort of orphaning actively tilled lands as a result of someone wanting to pop up a secondary dwelling unit somewhere else outside of the farmstead. But we don't currently have those rules, but you know, something council could consider as well if that's of interest.
Angela.
Brian, you mentioned partial service. What exactly is the partial service that's allowable?
So it's quite flexible. It could be on a private well and private on-site septic system. So there's that flexibility for the folk that's up in the northwest quadrant of our municipality that doesn't have any water service. Obviously, they're on well systems up there. So it gives that a flexibility across the board. So, or whether you're on full services in the urban areas of Rodney or West Lauren.
Okay, and then you get into the building code, which Jackie would have to talk to the individual property owner about fire separation and all that individual stuff, correct?
Yep, Jackie might be on the call too and can add more commentary on that if council likes. But yeah, you'd have to design.
Oh, we don't need to get into specifics. It was just a general question about
Yep.
partial services and the possibility of stuff. Because I have had some people asking about farm secondary dwellings. So I just keep pushing them to you.
So yeah, yeah, there's quite a bit of flexibility there again for council's information on secondary dwelling units. If you want more regulations around them, we can look at that. Or whatever council's wishes are on that at this
Okay.
stage.
I think from, oh, go ahead, buddy.
Well, since Jackie's on the call, I just wondered if she'd had any, inquiries that she feels, might be worth our consideration for amending bylaws to as the mayor said, to increase our housing stock here.
Thank you through you, your mayor. There haven't been any recent inquiries, and the zoning bylaw is permissive with respect to allowing them. In addition to the, single family dwellings that are already on those properties, or in a attached or in a detached garage or something like that. It's just a matter of them providing me with the plans to ensure compliance with the Ontario Building Code.
And I was just thinking in terms of multi-unit dwellings, are there any restrictions that we could consider lightening, or is that something that has come to your attention over the course of the last few years?
I think maybe Brian would be able to answer this a little better than I can.
So with respect to zoning regulations on that, I think West Elgin is fairly light and loose and flexible on the regulations for site location of these things. There's different thresholds of residential zones within the zoning bylaw that allow for higher order density residential units. So the R2 type zone gets into 2 units, semis, duplexes, those types of things, where the R3 zone gets into apartment dwelling units, double duplexes, townhousings, that types of thing. And there's more and more interest showing up as a result of the demand with limited real estate out there, as well as land valuation going through the roof for different forms of housing. And that will also help our settlement areas flourish with having a wide range of dwelling units available within the housing stock. Of course, we're heavily single detached, and people aren't having as many kids as we once were, and dwelling units aren't being utilized with the same amount of people per dwelling unit as it once was. So some variety in the housing stock will help with land affordability and the needs of the community, I think, over the long term. And there's a few development proposals in the works for council's interests that are looking at multiple units on properties. So I think the good things are coming for sure.
Thank you.
That all being said, I wonder, is there a possibility of preparing a information booklet to individuals that, trying to go through the zoning bylaw and understand what you can and what you can't do and what's maybe possible and what isn't possible. But if we had it in fairly straightforward, basic verbiage that someone that maybe hasn't thought about something like this would be able to look at look at a pamphlet and be able to say, I think that we can maybe do that at our house. Has that ever been done anywhere before? Just making it simple and easy to stir people's interest in potentially increasing our housing stock?
Yes, jurisdictions with some staffing resources have the ability to do some public education pieces such as pamphlets and flyers type thing, and a quick infographic way of capturing somebody's interest on it. Jackie and I spend quite a bit of time obviously talking with a multitude of homeowners and development proposals over the course of what we do every day. So, you know, those conversation pieces are always shared as part of our discussions with people to, you know, educate them and guide them on all the housing options that they could consider on their property. So, but it's something we could look at for sure. If that's a wish of council, we could work on a quick pamphlet idea that we could post on the internet if you think it would gain added traction. Always looking at options for sure. So,
Well, certainly as an outsider, the intricate world of zoning bylaws and building codes is way beyond my scope and comprehension. And I think that the easier we can make it for people to at least have a basic understanding of what is and isn't possible. Is it, do you know of, Jackie and Brian, do you know of any jurisdiction that possibly has this type of publication that we could use as a basis to
there's some 490 municipalities in the province, so I'm sure I can find a few quite easily to find some examples. So not a problem. All the provinces looking at this, all the municipalities as a result of that 2015 amendment for housing that was done. So it's built into it's to be built into your bylaws anyways. So that's been done already. So I'll look for stuff and work at that in parallel to this initiative, as well as moving forward development proposals over time, if that's what council's thinking.
Bonnie?
I guess just in line with that, I would suggest that most of our citizens do not know about the option for them to have an additional residence on their property. And so we might be able to leverage our social media to just, you know, run a did you know kind of campaign to let people know that that is something that is allowed in this municipality, and just get the thoughts moving on that.
Yep,
That would be relatively easy to do. I mean, Jenna could interview Brian and put little blurbs on, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, there's a few ideas. There's tax bills that do go out that we could do info within there if we needed to as well, for a broader audience, for those that aren't on social media. There's a few options for sure. So we'll work at that. And is it something that council would like to see back to council as a result of generating something like this, or what's your prerogative on that?
I think it's something that I'm very comfortable leaving it with staff people to investigate and see what's possible. And once we know what the information that we can put out in a reasonable format, once we understand that, then certainly we can pick the appropriate media to put it forward on. And because this is, you know, we talk about homelessness and we talk about a lot of things, but affordable housing, in my estimation, is one of the biggest problems that we've got. And in West Elgin, housing period is an issue. So what we can collectively do to try to move that forward, I think is good business on our part. Teresa?
Through the chair, yeah, I'll just echo what the mayor's words were there. That's what I was going to add to the conversation, as well as, I don't know about the other councillors, but I get calls all the time if I can direct them, residents who need housing, where can we get housing, what are the resources, different things like that. So do direct them. And yeah, just there's no options for people out there. There's people that have moved here for work and they still travel hour and a half, 2 hours for work because they don't have housing here, but yet they're working within our community. So it'd be great if we could let everyone know that we're working on it. It's something we know it's needed, and we're going to get there. So yeah, that would be great. I'd like to see something back. Yes, staff work on it, but if we could see something back at some point and a timeline maybe, so when I am speaking with people, we can let them know what our timeline is that we're looking at it for.
But anything else anybody would like to add to this discussion?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
guess the main thing is if council has any more added thoughts on any other things that you're hearing from your constituents on issues with the zoning bylaw that we could correct. But the report is to serve as best as what we've heard so far to address the mobile food outlets on the hamlets, as well as trying to make it a secondary use. And again, to add clarity to the trailer and campgrounds on what's permitted on them for accessory use or secondary use functions as a result of it. So that's the intent there, as well as the other items that we talked about with respect to roadside stands, established building lines. Setbacks from county roads is to exempt all settlement areas within the municipality, because currently it just speaks to Rodney and West Lorne. So it's trying to be more wholesome on that within our built areas, and then allowing for flexibility of accessory use buildings within our agricultural areas to allow for front yard, exterior yards, provided they still meet the minimum setbacks of a main use on a property, right? To allow some more flexibility that way. So thought process on that again was if they're building an agricultural drive shed, it'd be minimum setbacks of that zone category anyways. If I decided to build a accessory use garage to store my vehicles in to the house, then it would have to be to the side of the rear yard. So we thought that made sense to allow some more flexibility within our agricultural areas, where built form is a lot more fluid, obviously, in the vast land area that absorbs our agricultural area. So, but with that, I thank council for the valuable conversations on the zoning bylaw this morning. And if there's anything else that council thinks of in the meantime, please let me know. And we'll strive to move things forward towards a public meeting over the next couple months and go about it that way.
Okay, so thank you, Brian. Anything else anybody has to add? With that, we'll let you guys carry on with your day.
We need to vote.
We need to vote, yes. Okay, I guess it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, next item up, administration vaccination policy update. Magda.
Morning, Mr. Mayor. So basically, this is just the, we're putting through an amendment to our existing vaccination policy that council adopted back in October. So the reason for the amendment is the shortage of rapid antigen tests. Currently, they are not available. In the past, in the last few months, we have been able to secure rapid tests through the Chamber of Commerce in St. Thomas. At this point, there are no tests available. We still have sufficient quantities of tests for our employees that need to test every 48 hours, but we're trying to update our policy in case we run into an issue where rapid tests are still not available. So we consistently so our employees are know what they need to do. So basically this policy, if they are unable to test, every 48 hours due to lack of availability. They will be required to stay home for the duration of either availability of tests or if their vaccination status changes. So at this point, we are proposing unpaid leave of absence for the duration of that time.
So long that's gonna
And
be.
we don't know how long it's going to take. We're hoping COVID tests will be available within a month. It's just, I know that the province secured quite a few millions of them. They're coming. We just don't know how big of a delay the tests are going to be.
These tests, they're solely for the people that haven't been fully vaccinated, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, it's free. Doesn't feel well, they can test.
Mhm.
Okay.
But at this point, we were providing those tests only to the employees that have not been vaccinated.
Has there been any consideration of extending the period from 48 hours to 36 hours, just in the ability to try to protect the number of tests that we do have left? As I heard on the news this morning, any tests that are available in the province of Ontario are going to be seconded to the schools. So it could be some time before there's anything that's really available. Councillor Tellier?
Through the chair, yeah, I had the same thought. I just know in healthcare, when there isn't an outbreak, it's twice a week. So beginning of the week, end of the week kind of thing, or midweek, or whatever the employer decides. But yeah, just wondered also about expanding that time frame from 48 hours to a little longer. And then the other question I had, if it's okay to break in now and ask that, is how would this affect staffing? I just know that I don't know right now if we have any issues with staff being down with it, and that's a privacy issue. But what I'm asking is, will that put a strain on the other staffing areas if we have people down when there's no tests available right now?
So yes, there is a huge effect as so our municipality is not that big. One employee does make a difference being short. At this point, we're running into, so number one is the tests are not available. And number two, the COVID numbers in our municipality are quite high. So at this point, we're trying to educate our staff not to come to work if they have COVID symptoms, even, runny nose, sore throat. They, so far, they have been very respectful, and everybody comes to work healthy and ready for work. But unfortunately, it's a virus, and we're just hoping for the best. Everybody is wearing masks, and we're sanitizing. The facilities are extra clean and sanitized, but unfortunately, those are the things beyond our control, and we're doing the best we can. But if and hoping that, this virus will not affect the entire municipality or entire department.
Bonnie?
I believe it's wise for us to have these changes in our policy. Obviously, it sounds as though at the present time, it's not an issue, but it's going to be shortly, likely. I don't feel that it's wise to stretch out the testing time. You know, I do feel that we've accommodated staff in a number of ways, and you know, I would be very supportive of these changes taking place. Yes, it could impact our how our services function, but so could illness. So we're just, you know, I do believe we're following the best practice here, especially given that the county has gone to these revisions as well. So, you know, I would support these changes.
Well, got to do what we got to do. And, I don't know, I think it would scare us all if, you know, when you take a look at what's happening in hospital settings where, what was the last numbers I heard, 46% of the people coming into hospital were testing positive for COVID, but that's not the reason why they were there. So, you know, I think that I think it's much more prevalent in our community than what we think it is. And hopefully this is what will make this all go away, because the herd immunity will take care of the situation. So any more questions or concerns on Magda's suggestion to initiate a new policy? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Magda, CAO Treasurer, RE COVID-19 vaccination policy, and that West Elgin Council approves the amendment to HR policy 2.35 COVID-19 vaccination verification policy as attached. Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Leatham, seconded by Rowe. All in favor? And that is carried. Next item up is the monthly administration report for December. Magda?
Maybe I'll ask Jenna, since she does the report for
So-
both of us.
There's obviously we were closed for one of the weeks of December, but it started out with the Rodney Night Market, which was well attended. Unfortunately, as much as the county tried to get us some good attendance numbers, they just weren't. The rural internet kind of messed it up enough that they weren't able to get accurate numbers. But we did have some good, like, widespread visitors from lots of areas, and I mean, we were lucky to get it in. Now with what we're looking at now, it was thankful that it happened when it did. And I should have some, it's supposed to be by the end of the day today. I have the rest of the video footage and photos we had done for it. So I've seen a couple of them. They're really good. So it'll be nice to have some promotional items for that if they go ahead with it next year. I don't think if there's any other questions, let me know. The rest of it was pretty regular month, I guess.
Honey?
I can attest to the fact that there were people from Toronto there because I brought them, so. And the other update, I wondered if you could give us an update on the office renovation.
Oh, yes. So we had on Tuesday we had on-site meeting. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. But at this point, our office renovations are being delayed and until first week of March. The contractor is running into issues with, there is a vapor barrier issue, and then the entire floor has to be, the surface of the cement floor has to be stripped, grounded, so to provide appropriate vapor barrier. So that's still, we're waiting for the contractor. I believe they're right now with one of the supervisors tested positive for COVID. So things are even more delayed with contractors calling in sick, staying home and isolating. We're expecting, at this point, we're expecting for the office to be completed first week of March at this point. And also, I would like to, does anybody actually, since we're on office renovations, does anybody have any questions?
Teresa had one, she had her hand up, but
Through the chair, mine was actually just asking about the new payroll software. I know it's you're just infancy into that. And then the other question I had was the 40%, 45% capacity for the Service Ontario. Is that just a lack of traffic, or was that restrictions? Because I know that February 28th date is coming up for everybody to have their vehicle registration stickers caught up from when they had a reprieve in 2020 and 2021. So yeah, those are just my two questions I had there. But thank you for the office reno update.
So I can answer Service Ontario question. So at this point, that 45% capacity is, so the numbers are decreasing. I think the reason why we are getting less and less customers is because I believe our office is the only office that is open by appointment only. The office in Newbury and Dutton are open on walk-in basis. It's just, you know, in the past we had we would be getting a lot of the same day appointment last minute. Our residents will call our municipal office and we would book an appointment on that same day. That those phone calls have decreased significantly. And when I spoke to administration in Dutton, Dunwich, they mentioned that they're extremely busy. So I think the residents or the customers they don't like appointments. They just want to walk in and get their and obtain their service. So at this point, I don't want to change our operating hours for Service Ontario due to high COVID numbers. And, you know, our municipal office is shared with Service Ontario. That would, if we remove appointments, this will bring great amount of traffic into our office, which I am trying to avoid at this point. But the idea is once things go back to normal, perhaps March, when we move into our municipal office, I would like to remove the appointment option from Service Ontario desk.
Yeah, that's smart thinking. I mean, we need to keep our residents safe and our employees safe. So that's smart thinking there. No, I just didn't, I just knew with the deadline coming here, I was kind of shocked. I was a little bit. Thank you for that answer.
Mm-hmm. And as far as our payroll system, payroll is 75% implemented. Our full-time and part-time employees are getting paid through our new payroll supplier. They have already received notifications yesterday. They have access to a portal. That portal still has to be implemented. Right now, they are able to view their pay stub and update their personal informations. We are working on time management option. This is the part where our employees will be going in and submitting their hours, notifying management of their vacation, sick time, that kind of stuff, and sending it over electronically for the approval. Council's time management will be implemented this week or early next week, and council will be getting notification as well on how to access the portal and submit their hours. So the further instructions will be available before the end of the month. But because it doesn't Sure. Jenna will share her screen just to show you what the portal looks like.
So basically under next pay is where you would log in and you could see, you can't see any of my stuff unless I hover over it. So that's why I don't mind. This is how everything lays out. You can go through everything. It's pretty easy to user-friendly to use. So you can also update any information that you need to, your personal information, emergency contacts, all of that sort of stuff. They aren't into the time management part, but this is what it looks like for everybody right now. It's very simple. You get an email notice that you're paid when you're the day before your next pay and that your stub will be available.
So it is very user-friendly software, and also, this kind of, we're giving our employees the responsibility of making sure that, their personal information, their address, their banking information is correct. So, we're kind of shifting that responsibility onto them, which is kind of nice.
Okay, any other questions, Bonnie? I guess you got your hand. Oh, no, Richard was ahead right behind Teresa. Okay, Richard.
Okay, we noticed you were saying about the offices, and with the vapor barriers and in the walls or floors or whatever they were doing, what difference is that going to make on the price? Because it sounds like a big job to me, and already the money was already allocated for that fix, and now it's going to be a different number altogether.
Oh, yes. So we are expecting, the original job, we budgeted $525,000. On the top of that, we were paying, I think approximately $18,000 for administration and drawings to our architectural company. We're expecting approximately $100,000 in, extra. There has been some issues that we were trying to resolve. And at this point, we're hoping that, we can close in $100,000 over budget. We don't know. We're hoping that this vapor barrier, the flooring is the very last thing that we are dealing with, and there will be no other unexpected surprises. But keep in mind, this entire building, our office building, was converted from a tractor dealership without proper insulation, which caused mold. And there was more asbestos that had to be removed than we expected as well. So of course, when you discover things like that, the cost is automatically it's going to go up.
Yeah, like my office shouldn't have had anything done to it, but ended up having to be completely ripped out.
Exactly, and that was another issue. We were not planning on removing the framing from the side on Jenna's side near the fire hall. We were expecting that area to be perfect. Unfortunately, great amount of mold was found. They had to remove the entire structure, demolish the entire structure, and build from scratch.
That's as a result of the flooring issue, which is there was no vapor barrier.
No.
The cement was built,
You're going to get rising down.
and that's exactly what happened. The
Yeah.
cement wasn't sealed properly, and so now they're having to deal with all of that.
Everything was covered in mold.
See, what happens is the moisture's coming up through the concrete and it's wicking up into the insulation, up into the walls. And so it's, I don't know. I've gone into my own personal projects, and for some strange reason, they take a life of their own and end up costing you more than what you anticipated.
Yeah.
And, that's just a factor of life. So it has to be repaired. I did have the opportunity to quickly stop in the other day on another matter, and I did have a quick walk through the offices. And I think that when they are done, I think everybody's going to be very satisfied with the end result. I think it's going to be much better to the public for being able to be serviced, and certainly much better for our employees, that they're not sitting on each other's lap trying to do their work. So unfortunately, it's going to take a little bit longer, but in the meantime, for those of you that have been into the community center, everybody has their own little corner of the world that they're working out of. And certainly Helen is doing a wonderful job at the front desk. I really appreciate going in there because you're greeted with a smile, and I think that's really important. Teresa.
Through the chair, yeah, it was great to meet James there just before the holiday break. And then Helen unfortunately wasn't there when I was there, but yeah, everyone seems to be doing well. And how was it going with the rec staff working at the arena? Is that going well as to be expected?
Yes, so currently arena is closed, so our recreation staff is busy cleaning the arena, painting, doing more housekeeping work. Hopefully we're back to normal, or whatever that normal is going to be, on the 26th or 27th. Yes, we have Emily, office staff working out of arena office, and it seems to be working. I think work is being done, phones are being answered, so things are running well.
Yeah, and I noticed when I have Zooms with Emily or whoever, they're very well spaced out and lots of Lysols in the background. So yeah, they seem to be working out well there. So that's wonderful that they're able to be there and everybody can be kind of like in their own little pod, little safe connectors there.
Yes, Andrew, did you have a question?
Nope, it was Richard asked it. It was about
Okay.
the overage.
All right. Any other questions on the administrative monthly report? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that West Ogden Council hereby receives the report from Magda, CAO Treasurer, and Jana, Clerk, Administration Monthly Report for December 21st for information purposes, mover and seconder. A move by Tellier and seconded by Leatham, all in favor. And that is carried. What's your pleasure here? We've been at it a little over an hour. Does everybody want to keep on moving forward, or you want a quick little break, or what's your plan? Yes, Bonnie?
Quick break, please.
All right. We'll take a few minute break here and okay, welcome back. We are now at the point in our agenda of committee and board reports. We have council reports from committees. We have the minutes here. Does anybody have any committee report they want to bring forward to council that's outside of the minutes that are available? Bonnie?
Four Counties Transit met this Monday and looked over our year-end financials. We ended with a deficit of about 10,000, which included some transfer to reserves, and those invoices will be going out to partners soon. So the committee did recommend budget for 2022 to include transfer to reserves again, an increase of the kilometer charge for special trips to make it cost effective, as the costs associated with the kilometers driven has increased over the time since we've increased that last. So to 80 cents a kilometer for the bus to do special trips. And we've also made the decision to place an order for a new bus this year, given the fact that it could take a year or more for the bus to be delivered. And so we will be meeting again shortly, and perhaps a few more meetings to decide on which bus size and capabilities is necessary given our current and planned future ridership. So I think that's about it.
Okay. Tress.
Yeah, the committee for the 525 for the Legion, we met on last Monday. So it was the secretary from the Legion, the president, Lee, Emily, and myself. So we're hoping to have a bit of a site meeting to go out and look at what the cenotaph looks like at the cemetery, which is where it currently stands, and to start looking to see if that's an option to bring it into the core of the town or somewhere within the village of Rodney, and just looking at different ideas. So it was a great kind of like a melting of the minds meeting to see what we could or could not do. So look forward to more.
Okay, anyone else? We don't seem to be getting our county highlights anymore, do we? I'm gonna have to ask the reason why. We did have a county council meeting on Tuesday. So I'll just go through a couple of things that are maybe of importance to West Elgin. First item up is the tender was awarded to for the rebuilding of the Clathen Road Bridge between West Elgin and Middlesex and Chatham Kent. That will take place this summer. It's a fairly significant upgrade. I think it's $4 or $5 million to refurb the bridge. It is needing some attention, and so that will begin this year. Of course, the bridge will be shut down, which will, affect some of the residents, but that will all come out in notification and whatnot. So, and the other thing that's kind of significant is, I don't know if anyone's familiar with community paramedicine program. The county has been authorized by the province of Ontario to begin a community paramedicine program in Elgin County, which I witnessed it firsthand down in Eastern Canada in Prince Edward Island. And what that is that there are paramedics that will attend, make house calls is what it is, to assess patients, make sure that they're taking their medication. If there's any problems, they will, at least the way it works down east, is they will do a consultation with a physician to determine whether that individual needs to be transported to hospital prior to just loading them up and taking the way it is now. So I'm really looking forward to this program. There's certainly the province is funding it as they always do at the start. Who knows how long the funding will continue, but at least we'll have an idea if this is a program that's working well in Elgin County. That's pretty much the two things that directly impact West Elgin. I'll have to see how that why that review. Probably it's a simple fact that county is under a tremendous COVID pressure right now. Certainly in the homes, we do have some outbreaks both in Terrace Lodge and Elgin Manor. A lot of people that are off, either isolating or for whatever reason, and we have individuals from the library and from economic development and other departments that are backfilling positions at the county homes to keep them up and running. So all we can do is hope and pray that this thing is going to come to an end sooner the better. Bonnie, question?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the community paramedicine program. My understanding, just to clarify what you said, the visits do not happen in place of community nursing or PSW visits. So it's not to replace that, but the clients that this type of program is involved with are those clients who go to emerge very frequently for whatever reason, and perhaps are awaiting placement in long-term care, that need reassurance or can be assessed on a regular basis to avoid them having to go to emerge frequently. So that's the purpose of the community paramedicine program, as opposed to replacing visiting nurses and PSWs who also do those things.
Yeah, and certainly that's the big component of it, that the way the system is now, if someone calls 911, the ambulance arrives, their mandate is to stretcher the person up and transport them to an emerge. This way here, the paramedic can do a little bit more of a self-assessment with the help of a physician if necessary, and make a determination whether that individual needs to go or is fine in place until something more happens. So I think it's a good program, and I'm certainly looking forward to it rolling out. But no, it doesn't replace the VONs or that type of service that is already being provided. Teresa?
Sorry, what was the amount of the funding? Was it
What was
announced
that?
the amount? What was the amount of the funding? Was that a dollar amount actually announced, or just funding was announced?
Acceptance into the I'm just looking it up here now, accepting it into the program. The province, we had to apply to the province to be a candidate for paramedicine. I think that there's a lot of details that need to be worked out, not only with Medivive, who is our carrier, and probably certainly with union personnel, but I would think that it will be our paramedics are stretched to the limit now, so I think that there will probably be additional paramedics be required to deliver this program. Okay, I do see some funding dollars here that it has been determined that the annual allocation to Elgin County to administer the CPLTC program is 2021-22, 1 million, fiscal year 22-22, 2 million, fiscal year 23 to 24, 2 million. Okay, any more reports from committees before we get into the minutes? And seeing none, the transit committee from our previous meeting, are there any questions in that on those minutes?
Through the chair, I should have mentioned also that the transit committee is drafting an operating agreement, which we've never had one before. This program has run on gentlewoman's shake of the hands, and it has run very well on that. But since we're considering whether we can bring in new partners, we felt that we needed to get a new an agreement. So first draft of that has gone to partners. It's pretty straightforward. So
an agreement coming to us in the future.
Yes.
Next item up, Tri-County Water Board. I don't know if there's any questions regarding Tri-County. Anything, Richard?
Well, congratulations to the new chair.
Well, yeah, I don't know whether it's congratulations or condolences. I'm not sure. Time will tell. Recreation Committee, anything on the minutes? West Ogden Community Board of
Through the
Management.
chair.
Yes.
Sorry, I did have a question from the Recreation Committee minutes. I noted that there was interest from the youth task team in attending. Are they wishing to sit, you know, as a committee member or as a guest, or what was the, do we need to add them as?
My understanding, I had a bit of conversation with Emily about this, that they are interested to find out if they could be appointed. So they will be putting in a request to council to see if council would be willing to expand the membership. But that'll come to council when it's a formal request comes.
Okay, thanks.
Community Center Board of Management meeting. Things were running fairly smoothly at the arena, and then boom, COVID hits again. So we're all in lockdown and shut down. And I don't know if it's till the 27th. I guess time will have to tell, but we're in, we're out, and right now we're out. Anything else that we have to add into reports? Seeing none, next item up. Oh, yes, Bonnie.
Oh, I just wondered through the chair whether the hockey, minor hockey and figure skating, do they end up getting any rebates for time not used in the arena? I'm sure they've paid for the arena services that they were hoping to use.
Yes, they did. So basically, we have adjusted their schedule. And because at this point, they are prepaying, the requirements that they pay ahead, which is first day of the month. So they have a credit on their account at this point, and that credit will be kept on their account until the end of the season, and then we'll reconcile the account. And then if there is a refund, we are planning on processing that refund to them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on committee reports? Things are hunky-dory at Lower Thames.
We're going back to virtual again, and they've changed the annual general meeting date from the 17th to the 24th.
I don't know if you all had the opportunity to attend the light show that Lower Thames had at the Scanado. That certainly was well done.
Absolutely.
Well done. And the number of people that went through there, I tell you, it had to be mind-boggling.
They said yesterday they donated, the proceeds were over $10,000 is what they donated to the United Way.
Really, I thought it'd be a lot more than that.
But don't forget how expensive it would be to run all those generators.
That's what I mean,
and-
yeah, it would be a fairly costly.
Is that a for-profit or a not-for-profit that assembled those lights? It's a company.
It's a company and it was sponsored by a building company in London. And so I think I just know that there's a picture of them giving $10,000 to the United Way yesterday, so.
Okay,
Yes, I also thought it would be more than that, and I wondered how much their profit was actually, but at any rate.
Yeah,
I did also want to say that I registered for those winter webinar series that the Lower Thames is offering. And the first one was this week, and it is quite good. If anybody's interested, there, you can still register and there was no fee. But, you know, talking about things like conservation and how you can put plantings on your small properties that can help with insects and, you know, feeding birds and things like that. So it's quite good.
all right, well, we'll move on to accounts. I have a recommendation as mayor and treasurer hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 1 in the amount of $2,206,095.88 in settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts. Mover and seconder, Bonnie, your question. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier. Any more discussion on that? And the question is, we have the money. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, we'll move on to correspondence. Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, what's your pleasure?
Noted.
Municipal Affairs and Housing Bill 13 and 276. Okay, AIM will call to action. That's Bonnie.
There's a motion here that's council support the 7 recommendations that AMO has put forward about joint and several insurance liability, and it was put forward some time ago, and the government sort of took it to one point and never really reported back on those findings. So I would support, given that, you know, our insurance, I don't know, in my quick estimate has increased like 60% in the last 4 years. I don't know, we could look at those numbers to make it accurate, but I would you know, support sending that recommendation and just pointing out that the increases to insurance for small municipalities is not sustainable, and we would like the government to look at this. Yes, it isn't just joint and several, but with the municipal governments being the insurer of last resort, they are ending up paying for things that they didn't have anything or very little to do with. So I would like to support that.
Okay, next item is what?
I think there's 2
No.
counselors with their hands up. and
Yeah, I got it there. Next person up,
Angela first.
Angela.
But through the chair, we supported this last time it came. They have not changed it. They have not revised it. It's exactly the same. Nothing has been different. So I don't know how we can support the same thing that we already supported that hasn't been revised. Like nothing changed. So what do they want us to support? We already supported it once. I went back and looked. It's identical.
Yeah, I think the idea is, through the chair, that they want us to press the government to respond to those recommendations.
But we're just
Apparently-
re-supporting something we already supported. They need to revise their recommendation.
Well, they
And they're
don't want
not.
to revise it because the government hasn't come back to say that there's anything wrong with those recommendations. They haven't pursued them to the point of deciding yes or no. So I think the problem is that it's just not being addressed.
So then
That
we
would-
should, as per our whatever on, I don't know, whatever it was, I'd have to go back and look. I didn't write it down in my notes yesterday. As per whatever motion in, Janet would have to go find it. We supported this and we continue to support it.
Yeah,
To further
sounds
support
good.
it. And that, you know, the government needs to do something. And we stand by that recommendation.
I'd be fine with that.
I think it's a situation that there's been no response from the government, so, you know, it's just a reminder that we're not going away on this.
No, and I'm fine with that. We need to reiterate that we've already supported this once and we're supporting it again kind of thing, like Jenna, you're better at that than I'll leave your wordsmithing to that.
So basically, I'll have to look up the resolution number. As per West Elgin Council, Municipality of West Elgin Council Resolution Number blank, West Elgin Council wishes to reiterate to the province of Ontario our support for AMO's 7 recommendations regarding joint and severed liability and address it to the Attorney General. I don't know if you want me to list the 7 items again. I just literally got an email from AMCTO about asking for that again as well. So.
Okay.
Through the chair, should we put just a little line of our exacts of how we were impacted as a small municipality? Just a
Yeah.
little small sentence or two to add in there?
I don't know, our Magda can give you, our insurance has gone up in the last 2 years, X percentages, and then just put those
Mhm.
2 percentages in. You know, for
The 1 year was
40%,
28% in my notes, and I don't know what the other year was. I didn't
Yeah.
look up that far.
30
So-
or something. Magda will know.
Yes, so if we take into consideration last 3 years, our municipal insurance has doubled. As a matter of fact, this will be discussed during our budget meeting. But our cyber insurance went up 6 times for this year. And we should consider ourselves extremely lucky because a lot of municipalities have been declined cyber insurance. The only reason why we were able to obtain cyber insurance is because we have signed the agreement with the supplier or vendor that will be providing us with dual authentication software. So this was the only thing that kind of saved us. Otherwise, we would not have insurance this year, cyber insurance.
So then whereas West Elgin's insurance rates have increased over 60% in the last 2 years alone. This, and just as a statement with this. So whereas West Elgin's insurance rates have increased over 60% in the last 2 years alone, West Elgin Council wishes to reiterate our support for AMO's 7 recommendations for the joint and severed liability as per resolution number blank from previously sent out. Is that kind of what you're looking for, or?
Yeah, that's fine from my
Okay.
perspective.
Yeah, that's fine on my perspective as well. That sounds great. Just that little extra bit in there.
No, that makes sense. I was right with the over 60%, right? In the last 2 years alone.
But if you take 3 years.
Oh, okay. As
My understanding of the insurance, insurance is like a worldwide pot where our insurance company is insured with another insurance company that's insured with another insurance company, and it's called the reinsurance plan. And when you take a look at these disasters that are either happening in the West or the wildfires in California or wherever these disasters are taking place, that has got a tremendous impact on.
worldwide disasters due to, because I believe Lloyd's of London in
Yeah.
England is basically the major where
Carrier.
the insurance starts.
Yeah. So when you have all these claims from these major disasters, and there are payouts going to people that are insured, then that puts pressure on the reinsurers that then put pressure on the actual ratepayers. So it's a vicious game that we're in, and I don't know how it's going to work out in the end, but we still have to, I guess, play the game. So
So I have Councillor Rowe moving this. Do we have a
a seconder
seconder?
for this? Seconded by Talia. All in favor? That is carried. Next item up, City of Sarnia catch and release justice. It irritates me just as much as anybody else. The unfortunate part is I don't know what the solution is because the jails are all full. Like there's just I know in speaking both with our inspector and the police chief of the city of St. Thomas, it's very, very frustrating for officers to go out and go through the process of laying charges, to have them appear in court and just be given a suspended sentence. Or so I don't know what the solution is. What are your thoughts on this resolution from Sarnia? Any thoughts from anybody, or is it a receive and file? Seeing nothing, okay, Therese?
Yeah, receive and file through the chair. It's a bigger problem than this municipality could speak to, so it's nothing that we can really do. So yeah, just receive and file the report of the correspondence.
Certainly you can vent your frustration at the system, but like I say, you hit it on the nail on the head, Councillor Taille, when you said it's a bigger problem than just that. Okay, Elgin County Land Division, there were no appeals to severance E 8621, just an FYI. Port Glasgow Yacht Club response to correspondence. Letter from Norm Miller. Just to follow up on that conversation that I had with Rick McFadden yesterday is they have a remediation plan that they're wanting to come and present to council for our overview, and I know that they're going to be getting a hold of you, Janet, to get put on the docket going forward. So receive and file that letter from Mr. Miller. Elgin Police Services Group, certainly time to make an appointment for our representative. Everybody satisfied with Ida being reappointed? All right.
So I have a resolution that West Elgin Council hereby reappoints Ida McCollum as the community representative to the Elgin Group Police Services Board from Western Elgin until such time as the ministry approves the new board composition.
I shall move.
Moved by Richard, seconded by Bonnie. All in favor? That is carried. Outdoor ice rink proposal. Who's going to take the lead on this one here?
So there's a Facebook group that are looking for an outdoor rink. I think Lee might actually be on the meeting too. I know I've done some research and I believe Lee has as well. It's a great idea, but it might, from our research, it's too late this year to do it. Stuff needed to be done before the ground froze in order to get the braces and any of the rink stuff we've looked at. And I'm thinking it's a good proposal maybe to be sent to budget for next year as an idea. It's a great idea, but yeah.
Teresa, do you know the individual that's spearheading this?
We did invite her, by the way, to council, but she'd had another thing going on.
Yeah, Madame Mayhew. Yeah, Mrs. Mayhew. Yeah, I do know her. So yeah, they're looking for, as you can read in the letter, outdoor rink. We had one years ago, but due to weather conditions and such, it just didn't keep up, and it was more like a place to go get your snow pants super wet and for the young children. So and up to a couple weeks ago, it would have been just a very cold splash pad. So, yeah, I think what they're looking for is something on a scale of not just to have the spot in place and rely on the weather, but to see if we can put something in our budget for future years to, from my understanding, speaking with her, to keep up the cold weather, like keep up the ice and the weather when it's not as cold.
So like to put the piping underground like they do in London?
Yeah, or either they actually were looking at Elviston has a great little system going on, and then I directed them to look at what Port Stanley does. I'm not sure if they did or not, but Port Stanley they don't just rely on the weather as well, as my understanding, that they
think
have
they
something
all-
in place.
I think
So
the
I'll see
fire-
if I can find that information from Port Stanley. But yeah, I thought it was a great idea. And I also didn't think it just had to be in Rodney. I also thought there's great spots at Miller Park it could be. So either village. I just know people that are traveling to Elvinston and London, and I believe a couple of them looking to go to Port Stanley to see what they had going on there. So, and I think they're realistic. They realize this, we're already in the middle of January. So that's not
So do you
gonna
understand why they're traveling to Elvinston and Port Stanley when we have a facility right here?
outdoor rinks, because the facility is closed, and some of them are also being cautious and wanting to be outdoors and not indoors. So
Okay, I understand that. I'm
yeah.
wondering, is this something that we should be forming a citizens group that are wanting this, and I think that we have the ability to do some initial research to find out just exactly what is available, what is what we can do as a municipality. But I think that like a lot of things, that community involvement in this, both through a fundraising and certainly through community support, would make things flow much easier for us. I know Port Stanley, and speaking with the deputy mayor in Port Stanley, the fire department, they flood the outdoor facility, and then there is a group of citizens that are do the maintenance on it, shovel the snow off it. The dads come and keep it cleaned off. So I think that there's a lot of potential here if it's set up accordingly. And maybe Teresa, if that would be available or all right with you, to just start some initial conversations with this lady, just to see what exactly is on her mind, or maybe you've already done that, and it's kind of up to our staff here to do some research just to see what we can do and what it would cost to do it.
So the first initial conversations with her were, could the municipality do, and if the municipality can't do it, could they have permission to have something? And then what you're saying, have a group, an organized group, to look at maintenance of it. So obviously they'd want it in a park area, and then therefore they maintain it within one of our park areas.
I do know Lee was a little concerned and wanted to reach out to our insurance too before we agreed to have anything on our property.
And Mr. Mayor, there is a lot of research that staff would need to do. So I'm not sure if this will be available, if the information will be available during our budget negotiations, but currently staff did receive that request, and they will be exploring options, and those options will be presented to council in the near future.
So just I guess the question begs to be asked for those individuals in the community: is this council receptive to investigating the potential of an outdoor ice rink in West Dog? There are a lot of questions that have to be answered, but I think initially that if we can make a decision here that we are receptive to investigate this, certainly that is something that we can let the public know. Richard, question?
I'm all in favor of the outside rink. I think it's a grand idea, but I think you have to rely on the weather an awful lot. If you're talking about putting pipes underneath an outside rink, we're talking of a lot of money. And I don't know where that money would ever come from to run such a thing. I think an outside rink's great, but you have to rely on nature.
So getting back to the question, is council receptive to investigate an outside rink?
Bonnie and Angela both have their hands.
Danny,
up
Bonnie,
at the top.
what are your thoughts?
Many of my concerns have been talked about already. I do, worry about liability and so forth in a project like this. But I think if we formalize some sort of a leadership group with a couple of point people in the community and have some sort of a agreement in terms of just so that it doesn't have to be staffed and cleaned by staff all of the time and so forth, that could certainly make it more appealing to our budget discussions. I cannot see the option of putting pipes under the ground for this small municipality. It would use up all of the rec committee budget to do that, but certainly investigating the cost of that just so that we can make a decision based on reality rather than assumptions would be good. So yes, I would support whatever time staff has to investigate for a project like this for next year.
Angela?
I think it's a great idea what she's trying to do. I have been viewing from behind the scenes their little Let's Bring a Rink to Rodney group. They seem pretty adamant that they want to do it this year, and I wish that perhaps they had brought this to council in July, and maybe we might have been able to do it. I know right now that she's trying to find money for sponsors for a chiller and organize volunteers to run it and rentals and she's got some pretty big ideas. So, there's definitely some concepts going on there. I have the same concerns with liability and risk and who's going to run it and all of that. And I have already talked to staff about some of that. So, if all of that is addressed, I think that perhaps maybe it's something that can happen. I know that other municipalities have had rinks in the past and vandalism has been a big problem. So, and they've removed their rinks. So that's obviously something that's popped into my head as well. So if we can find the money and people are willing to sponsor it and take the cost off the tax base, then I would be willing to support it. But this year, it's just obviously we're a little late to the party and it's not going to happen. And I think that needs to be made very clear to this very eager person who wants to take this on, that we're looking for the 2022, 2023 winter season. So once the initial risks and liability has been outlined, then we can hopefully look at the steps to go forward in the budgetary process.
So I told her I would contact her back. So I will send her correspondence on behalf of council. Basically, what I'm getting is the council is receptive to this idea and has directed staff to investigate this for the 2023 budget season. Currently, it won't be possible for 2022 as there are insurance and staffing concerns that need to be addressed before this can move forward. Does that make sense?
It does to a point. Unfortunately, when you take a look at the 2023 budget cycle, won't be done until after prime freezing time is over with, so we won't be looking until.
Sorry, I guess I should say that maybe the 2020, like she said, the 2022, 2023 season will just deal. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's too late to be able to do it, because by the time we get that done in February,
Yeah.
the prime ice time is all over with. So I think that we need to take a look at the budget, and if we can find a placeholder in there to put some money. I done a little bit of research on this, and I don't know whether anybody else has, but there is a product on the market called, I believe it's called Easy Ice. And have you seen that, Therese? It's a very, very unique product that you can set any size that you want because it's components. It's made out of the same grade of plastic that hockey boards are made out of. A very easy to assemble, something that maybe the group that's looking into it can take a evaluation of. I think a basic 30 by 60 foot ice pad complete is about between $5,000 and $6,000. So it's not a huge investment, and something like that, a product like that is, I think, something that you could invest in. If it doesn't work out, then you've got the opportunity to put it on the market and dispose of it. So I think there are options out there, but getting back to the point, Bonnie, you moved a resolution that Janice said about council investigating this. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Tallier. Okay, you've all heard that. All in favor? And that is carried. So let's gather up some information. Certainly, can we use you as a portal to get through to this woman that's moving this forward, Teresa?
I have all her contact
You
information.
have all the
sir.
contact. Certainly, it would be nice to have at some point in time, maybe have a meeting just to be able to see just what is actually on their mind, and kind of get working together on maybe a potential for something next year.
I think, to be honest with you, yeah, we can set up something maybe with her and the staff to kind of
Sure.
go through some stuff. That would make probably the most sense. Like I said, we did invite her to this meeting. Unfortunately, she had a conflict.
Yep.
But I think really in my conversation with her, she wanted to explore the reception of it and what the process would be
Sure.
moving forward.
Okay,
Yeah, that's where she was at, as Jenna's saying. She's just looking to see if it's even an option and what they could go forward with.
well, there's certainly examples out in the community, both in, I think there's now one in Melbourne.
Yeah, they're working on trying to get it open. They're still having some issues with it, but yeah.
It's not easy. Bonnie?
I'm just aware of the fact that this is a recreational project, and are we going beyond the recreation committee? Should we include them in part of this discussion, or invite them to be part of the planning and so forth? Was the thought that I was having.
I think that from my understanding of talking to Lee a little bit was, yeah, he would like to get a good understanding of what the idea is, and then have Emily maybe bring it forward to them at their committee. But they really needed to know whether council was willing to have it on our grounds before, and willing to spend staff time before they went too far with it.
Okay. We are now council inquiries and announcements. Any notice of motion? Yes,
I'm going back to inquiries, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's next one.
okay, any notice of motion? I thought I was out of line, out
No.
of sync there.
No, sorry.
Notice of motion? Seeing none, statements, inquiries by councilors.
Okay, then
All right,
Yeah.
you're up, Richard.
It's just for my own information. I noticed on our accounts, we had 3 lots of beavers. Remove beaver lodges, caught beavers, etc. We always used to have a Mr. Van Avery do those jobs. I notice now that we have someone else. Now, I have nothing against that, but I want to know who employs these people, and whose responsibility is it to say, I'll get so-and-so rather than so-and-so.
Stop.
Tom deals with them, the drainage superintendent. Unfortunately, the previous gentleman we had doing it did not have proper insurance as required by our insurance company to do work on municipal property.
Okay, no, I was just I just saw it. I see a name change, and I was just interested
Yep.
how and when that
So we've
name
had these-
change comes.
Yeah, we've had these people contact, it's not hard, easy to find
No,
beaver catchers and people to do the work. So yeah, that's where that's kind of come from.
very few people have a license
Correct.
to trap beaver.
Well, you have to be a professional trapper, don't you?
Yes, and you have to have specific insurance and things like that, yeah.
That's all I'm going to say at the matter at the moment.
I think it's a situation of Tom just trying to find somebody that was qualified with licenses, insurance and everything to do it, so.
Yep.
I have just for council, I have a meeting scheduled, while I'm not exactly sure, the 28th, I don't know what time it is, with Karen Vecchio. She's having a discussion with all the mayors. I just wondered, does council have any specific things federally that they would like me to bring up with Karen and bring it to her attention? I thought of one thing when it comes to housing again. I know that the hub is certainly looking at trying to arrange funding for their addition over there. Is Tressa, I know you're involved. Is that something that we should be bringing forward to Karen to see if she can expedite funding towards their planned expansion?
Yeah, that was the first thing I was thinking, was funding there. They don't meet via virtually, so we haven't met, because before the holidays, we were going to meet and discuss if the two could work together, the affordable housing and the hub, looking to do an expansion, if they could do one ask instead of two asks. So yeah, so we haven't met together with those two committees, but that would be a great ask to ask, see if Karen would be able to look at that for us.
Well, I know the federal government has money for that, and so I think we might as well get the ball started and ask Karen, you know, what is available and what hoops do we have to jump through to get the thing started? Because they're pretty much ready to go. They just need somebody to say, get started.
I think so.
So is there any other federal issues that you feel that we should, as council, be bringing to Karen's attention? Certainly, if you do think of, like, it's the 28th of February that I have a meeting, if there's something that comes to your mind prior to that, Bonnie?
Was just thinking of our grant for renovation of the town hall, whether there's some flexibility in increases based on building costs since the application was submitted.
Okay, or there's any other supplementary pots of
Right.
money that we can. Would you like to sit in on that, Magda? I think that it probably would be, maybe there are some technical things that I'll let you know when that meeting, what time that meeting is. I don't think it will probably be that long, maybe 15 or 20 minutes. I know that Karen will have her Jill Ferguson, her parliamentary assistant there too. So I think either Magda or Jana would probably work good to be able to answer any questions that I might not have on the top of my head. Okay, and as I was saying, anybody that has something over the next couple of weeks that they think is needs to be brought to Karen's attention, let me know. Any other statements, inquiries by councilors? Any matters of urgency? Got to turn the page. All right, upcoming meetings. Committee of the whole budget meeting, January 20th. I guess you all can read them. Anybody have any conflicts, or is that all fine with everyone? All right. We can go to bylaws. Madam Clerk, if you want to run us through the bylaws.
Sure, so we've got the final reading of the Crouse drain. So it's bylaw 2021-71 being a bylaw to provide for the Crouse drain in the municipality of West Elgin be read for a third and final time.
Mover and seconder, moved by Leatham, seconded by Cammert, all in favor? And that is carried.
So now we're into our traditional bylaws for the new year. So that bylaw 2022-01 being a bylaw to constitute and appoint a committee of adjustment for the municipality of West Elgin. Be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder, moved by Rowe. Seconded by Leatham, all in favor? That is carried.
And to confirm the meeting, so that bylaw 2022-02 being a bylaw to confirm the proceeding of the regular meeting of council held on January 13th, 2022, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Taille, seconded by Cammert, all in favor? And that is carried.
We're now on to adjournment. That council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourn at 11:41 a.m. to meet again at 9:30 a.m. on January 27th, 2022, or at the call of the chair.
Moved by Cammert, seconded by Leatham, all in favor? That is carried. If anything, Ryan, you're back on screen there. Anything you?
Nope, just finishing the day. So have a good afternoon, everybody.
So, all right. Thank you, everybody.